I'll vote voting for Mr. Colhays, me, Mr. Van Ho, and Mr. Lyon out here. You know about the other staff, Mr. Buffo and the chick.
I received an email from Mr. Buffo and he has another commitment, so send his apologies.
It looks like we have enough to get started. I guess we'll see if the others show up. I'll gavel in. The time is 2:30. Call this October 13th, 2022 meeting of the AMATS Technical Advisory Committee to order. Aaron, would you do the roll call?
Yes, I will. Brad Coy.
Here.
Todd Van Hove.
Present.
Kent Colhays or somebody filling in for him.
Here, Russ Oswald filling in for Kent Colhays.
Thank you. Matt Stitchick. Steve Rebuffo is out. Oh, thank you, Matt. Steve Rebuffo. Sounds like he's out. Craig Lyon.
Present.
Brian Lindemood.
Present.
Luke Boland. Yemi Alimi.
Present.
And Jamie Acton is excused.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum. Would we also do the public involvement initiative, please, Aaron?
Of course, AMATS committee meetings are open to the public, and the public is provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting. Business items are first presented by a staff or consultant, after which the committee will discuss the business item. Then the public is invited to formally comment. Each participant will have 3 minutes to speak on the topic. A couple of housekeeping items. If you're joining us virtually and you're not a member of the committee, please turn your camera off when you're not speaking on an item. If you're joining us by phone, to mute and unmute the microphone, press *6. Just a heads up, I'm recovering from a really nasty flu, so I apologize for my voice.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, no need to apologize for not being here. We're glad that you are still joining us and helping out, though. That's going above and beyond. We hope you feel understanding.
Thank you.
Looking through the agenda, one of the items that I've been notified we won't be covering is the sewer to Glen PO update, which is 6K. And so that would we switch 6B to become a new 6A, or do we just cross off 6A?
You could just cross out 6A.
Cross out 6A. So with that change, do we have a motion for approving the agenda? Do we need to, we just agenda as amended, or do we need to?
I move to approve the agenda with the deletion of item 6. Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lyon, second by Mr. Van Ho. Do you have any objections? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Next item is the minutes, September 8th, 2022 minutes. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Oh, actually, we need a motion. Sorry.
Move to approve the minutes.
Okay, second. Moved by Mr. Lindemood, second by Mr. Lamy. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Okay, hearing no objections, the September 8th, 2022 minutes are approved. Moving right along, now jumping into the action items. Item 5A is the UPWP fiscal year 23 budget. Take it away, Aaron.
Okay, thank you all. So before you is the work program for FY23 for AMATS staff. You'll actually have an electronic version on your iPads, and you'll have a paper copy in front of you of the FY22 budget. So I'm going to kind of go through this and explain kind of what's going on. So typically what we do is we set a 2-year UPWP program saying what tasks we hope to accomplish every year over those 2 years. And then we have a budget that we do that is a yearly budget. So FY22, FY23. FY22 has already been approved, and what's before you is FY23. There's some changes that I kind of want to go through. The first is AMATS is going to be moving to doing a 2-year budget instead of a 1-year budget. This aligns better with the state and makes things a lot easier to deal with on our end. So in that regard, what you have before you today is actually a 2-year budget of 22 and 23. So it's kind of confusing. I apologize, but we need to kind of move into this new cycle. So it's gonna be a little rough to handle. And then another change is the 5303 funds that traditionally go to the Public Transportation Department directly is now coming through AMATS before they go to the Public Transportation Department. This is part of an effort by the state to consolidate everything into one planning grant program. So there's one overhead that's charged, one match rate, all that kind of stuff. So this is our first cycle doing it. And then from here on, it'll be kind of a pretty common thing. So basically what happens is we get told the amount of funding, and then I work with the Public Transportation Department, and they put their information into our UPWP, and we're recommending that we pass the full amount over to them so they can continue doing what they've been doing in the past. The UPWP is broken down into the various tasks you see in there, tasks 100s, 200s, 300s, 400s, 500s. You know, things like the MTP or the safety plan or attending the meetings or doing any of the kind of work that we normally do. So this is our FY23 budget. And one other cool thing that I want to talk about is we are planning on adding another position to AMATS staff. We are looking at adding a planning tech position. This position will help us with GIS work, help us with things like getting a interactive tip tool or tip map available. Any of these kind of technical things that we really could use some additional help with, or research efforts if we need. So we're very excited for that, and I'm working on that on my end as well. So I'm here for any questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Quick question.
Can you go ahead, Craig?
So Aaron, could you go down the list here on the contractual services, the funding that's in there? What are those dollar amounts specifically going for on each of those tasks? I mean, I know that what the 25 down there for the Transcad sim model is for modeling support. I'm just not sure what all the rest of them are. Just curious.
Okay, so really quickly, the MTP one, so task 130, task 243, the safety plan, task 293. Those are going towards projects that we already have underway that had a recent ICAP rate change from the state. So the ICAP rate went up, which reduces the amount of funding available for the project. So instead of reducing the amount that the consultants had, we took it out of the UPWP to kind of offset that ICAP rate increase. It's something we've done in the past, and it's really helpful for us because then we don't have to go back and pull we have to stop the consultant, get the contract change, all that. This keeps us just moving forward as is. Transcad, as you said, is modeling efforts. The portion in there for staff development and training. So that's attending conferences like the AMPO conference that's coming up soon that AMATS will be going to. And then 532 public involvement and outreach. That's going to be going towards the new public input software that we are hoping to get online soon at some point. That's going to help us kind of consolidate all of our public involvement opportunities into one platform and make it a little easier for us and the public to stay engaged.
Great, thank you. And another question?
Okay, go ahead.
So in the 300 element, I know in years past, those funds have been expended by the health department, and it seems like that usually happened in a rush in the third quarter. they just kind of sat there. They spent them, but I'm just curious if that's still happening or if we're getting those obligated earlier than third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, they're doing a good job of getting those funds obligated timely. Matt Stitchick has been helping with that, so we appreciate the effort on that. We just got a quarterly report in regarding that. So we've been moving forward on those pretty quickly.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Aaron and Craig. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Are there any questions or comments from the public? You've got one on there?
Looks like BHRI, I'm gonna guess that's Cheryl Richardson, but I'm not positive, online.
Oh, has her hand up. Okay, go ahead. We have 3 minutes. HRI. Looks like you are still on mute. You have a hand raised. I'm assuming it's public comment.
Don't have a way to unmute. It's not letting me unmute.
Not letting you unmute, so she's muted, but she. Okay, I guess once she figures out, then we can, okay, it looks like. Okay, go ahead, Cheryl. You want to try again? You unmute and you have a few minutes. Not working. Okay, anyone here in the room have?
Really quickly, if you're on the phone and you're trying to speak, you have to press *6 to unmute.
But clicking on her, it says make an attendee. Is that only for the policy committee members or?
Yeah, no, that wouldn't. They need to unmute either on the computer or on the phone.
I'm sorry, Cheryl, looks like you can figure out the unmuting. We're gonna move ahead. What is the will of the committee on this item?
I move the TXE recommend approval of the 2023 UPWP budget to the policy committee.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lyon, seconded by Mr. Alimi. Are there any objections to approving the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Item 5B, Freight Advisory Committee nomination. Is that yours too? Oh, is that?
No, I'm going to pass this over to John Cecil so I can take a minute to not speak. Thanks.
Sounds good. Take it away, John.
No problem. Thank you. So members of the Technical Advisory Committee, John Cecil, Freight Mobility Coordinator for the Freight Advisory Committee. And we have had a recent resignation. Jimmy Doyle stepped down, and we have a prospective individual by the name of Eddie Walton with Matson. And he is currently serves as the Director of Rail Belt Logistics with Matson. He has over 40 years of experience in the freight and logistics industry, working for a variety of different companies. He has extensive experience in maritime, rail, and trucking transportation in Alaska. And he's also participated in the development of Alaska's previous state of Alaska's previous freight plan. So we are recommending to you that we forward his name to the policy committee appointment to the Freight Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you, John. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
I just have a quick comment. Just want to thank Jimmy Doyle for his service. He was on the Freight Advisory Committee, I think since its inception, and it's a great wealth of knowledge coming from Weaver Brothers. That's a family-owned business that's been around here for a long, long time. So we really provided an invaluable resource to the Freight Advisory Committee. Appreciate this service.
Great. Other questions or comments? One that I did see is at the bottom of the application. It says attach your copy of your resume or bio.
Yeah, I was not able to obtain that time for a meeting today. I did request that.
Will that be ready for the policy committee or
I will try and track it down and get it to them.
it would be great just to have that? And it is someone that you know? Or,
It's, no, it's not an individual I know, but it was a recommendation from Joe Michelle, who's the chairman of the FAC, director of the Alaska Trucking Association.
yes. Okay, are there any questions or comments from the public? None online, none here in the room. What is the will of the committee?
I move to recommend the appointment of Eddie Walton to the policy committee.
Okay, moved by Mr. Van Halen, seconded by Mr. Windermere. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Moving on to item 5C, travel time reliability targets. Is that yours, Aaron?
Yes, this will be mine. So this is the travel time reliability targets. We have seen these targets before in the past. We set them, the state and set them a while ago, 18, I think 2018 is when we last saw them to cover the 2020 year. And so these are the new targets that are being set for 2024, 2026. So basically it's a 4-year period that starts in 2022, so 2022 through 2026. So before you are 3 separate targets. We have the travel time reliability for interstate, travel time reliability for non-interstate NHS, National Highway System, and then we have the freight travel time reliability. So these are back to the normal method of how we establish targets. So the state sets their targets, and then AMATS has the ability to either support the state with their targets or set their own targets. Because these are specific to the interstate and non-interstate NHS, which are predominantly the state's responsibilities, staff is recommending that we support the state in the targets that they've established that you see in the sheet before you. I did actually include a link to the FHWA website in the memo that talks about where the targets were before and how things have progressed. Hopefully you all saw that as you were looking through these. But it looks like the state is doing a good job at meeting these targets, and we're helping where we can. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Sounds good. So you said that they are doing a good job of meeting them?
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments from the committee? I guess one question I have is, how are they measured?
What do you mean?
Do we know, is there devices or like, how do they confirm what the travel time reliability is? I'm just curious on
Well,
the data.
in the memo from DOT, it explains how everything is done. So level of travel time is calculated as a percentage of person miles traveled on the interstate and non-interstate NHS that are reliable. It's derived using the ratio of 80th, 50th percentile and then converted to person miles using the American Community Survey occupancy factor for Alaska, which in this case is 1.7 persons per vehicle. And so that's turned into a index, basically, ratio. And then truck travel time reliability is calculated as a ratio of 95th to 50th percentile.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the public? Seeing no questions or comments, what is the will of the committee?
Move to recommend approval of the targets to the policy committee.
Okay, moved by Mr. Lyons and Mr. Bowman. Are there any objections? Okay, hearing none, the motion is approved. That gets us through the action items. Section 6 of our agenda is for the project and plan updates. And we'll jump to 6B, State Long Range Transportation Plan, LRTP.
Yes, I believe Holly is online to present. Sorry for the last minute link, Holly, but it's been a crazy week. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I totally get it. Thank you for having us. We're not going to take too much of your time today. There's many of you who have already been participating in this process. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with all of you.
Yes, go for it.
Claire, I'm just making sure you're on and ready. There she
I
is.
am.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Great.
hear you great.
Kick us off.
Okay, so Claire will introduce herself when she starts talking, but we're here today to talk to you about the State of Alaska Long Range Transportation Plan and Freight Plan. There's a public review draft available, and when Claire starts talking and I'm not doing this anymore, I will start putting some things in the chat so that you all have access to it too. Before I go on, do we have Eric? Eric, are you on the line as well? I think he is. There you go. Okay, good. We also have our DOT planner and project manager, Eric Taylor, is on as well today. So if anybody has any questions of DOT specifically, he'll be here to answer them. The planning team that put this project together, guided by Eric, were the prime consultant was Kittleson and Associates. Michael Baker was also on the team. They provided a lot of support for the freight plan element. Northern Economics did a financial analysis of the plan, and then Huddle, which is my company, I did public involvement for the plan. And I'm going to pass it to Claire right away. Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah. Hey, Holly, are you able to screen share the slides?
Oh, yeah, I thought I did. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm back in 2020, maybe. There we go.
There we go. Okay, great. We'll continue on from here. So it's easy to think about transportation today, but the statewide long-range transportation plan, or Alaska Moves 2050, is focused on the future. The LRTP guides decisions related to state-owned multimodal transportation assets over the next 25 years. The plan acknowledges and highlights past trends, but it also recognizes that past trends may not be predictive of the future. This plan is forward-looking so that the transportation system can be ready for what may be coming. It's thinking about our transportation system really for the next generation. And of course, we've been completing this plan during a pandemic and a significant new infrastructure bill, both of which will have great impacts, in the near and long term. Next slide. So a key component within the LRTP document is the proposed family of transportation plans, which outlines how various high-level policy direction plans should then help to inform modal and system investment plans, which are then reflected in operating plans. And some members of this family of plans are already in place, while others will require work to develop and implement. Improving and streamlining the transportation planning and investing framework will really help to strengthen and grow partnerships to help everyone work more efficiently.
Okay, so since May of 2021, over 2,500 Alaskans participated in the initial part of the developing the plan. That's a lot of people, and it was really successful at the beginning. As plans go on and it gets a little bit harder, especially policy level plans, I think engagement has fallen off a little bit, but that's one of the reasons we're moving around the state and giving presentations like this. And we ask you to help share information about this plan to your stakeholders as well, so that more people can see the draft and make comments on it. We did 6 freight advisory committee meetings, which is the state committee. There was a statewide transportation advisory committee, 3 of those meetings, and then they met jointly twice to develop the goals and the guiding themes. And then there was a technical advisory committee meetings made up of state staff who helped guide scenario planning, which is a key element of the plan. Tons of interviews and other presentations as well.
So there are many high-level local, national, and global external trends that will likely influence the transportation system, network, and needs in the years ahead. These drivers of change have the potential to impact all modes and the entire transportation network, influencing performance, demand, maintenance and operation needs, and funding. So the most notable contributing drivers of change highlighted in the LRTP include specialized workforces that will be needed to design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation system, reliable travel choices that support a strong and healthy community, system needs exceed available funding, technology is changing how we travel and get our goods, and increasing weather and climate-related disruptions impact our transportation systems and increase costs. And the long-range transportation plan, as well as the companion freight plan, present 10 goal areas, which are then further broken down into policies with specific actions and performance measures to define what needs to be done to foster a safe, efficient transportation system with low life cycle costs, increased travel choices, and system resiliency. And while the LRTP document itself includes much more detailed information on each of these goal areas, I'll briefly expand on the context of each. So safety means provide for and continuously improve the transportation system safety for all users. Mobility and access refers to moving people and goods efficiently and equitably. Economic vitality means planning for and investing in transportation infrastructure that supports economic growth and lowers goods and service costs. State of good repair is accounting for full life system costs. Resiliency includes assessing risk and investing in solutions that help the system adapt and recover from disruptions. Sustainability is promoting a sustainable, clean, equitable transportation system. Strategic partners is expanding coordination and collaboration with other levels of government, industry partners, and the public. Stewardship of the transportation system is addressing prevailing transportation challenges using cost-effective solutions to improve operational efficiencies. Transportation innovation refers to proactively identifying and planning for innovations that have the potential to impact safety, efficient freight movement, and workforce needs. And overall, moving towards performance-based management will require investing resources to improve access to data science and analytics and informatics to inform data-driven, evidence-based decision-making.
Okay, I'm going to put these resources in the chat when I'm done talking. But we will be accepting comments, and there's a virtual public meeting available. Comments will be accepted through October 31st. on the draft plan. And the open house that's virtual is also going to be available until October 31st. Like I said, a policy level plan can be, it's not as sexy as, one of the other lower plans that Claire talked about. And so sometimes it's difficult for people to engage. But if you, like I said, if you can help share this through your networks, that would help us reach more Alaskans. Yeah, and I guess with that, if anyone has any questions for Claire, we welcome them.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Has the committee had this forwarded and the links all forwarded to them? Well, I haven't seen it. I'm sure for Kent, so. Well, has this been forwarded to the committee before? The link and all that, so they can be sent around?
We can do that. I'm going to type it in the chat here, and then I'll follow up with some information to Erin.
Thank you.
So the things that are in the chat, is that something that you can grab pretty easily, Chelsea, or into the group too?
Yep.
That would be helpful, I think. I can't be able to be included and just be one less step for us to go look at. Other questions from the committee? Are there any questions or comments from the public? And it looks like the notes in the chat are that the virtual open house has been provided, a link to it is provided, and requested to view and document by October 31st. Okay, so
We do have a comment.
there is a comment. Okay, looks like we do have a hand raised. Cheryl,
Hi, can you hear me this time?
yes, go ahead.
Oh, great. It's a real simple. I just Googled STIP and I didn't find the new link. Where is the link to your work today? Thanks.
So the chat now a link to the open house for the draft long range transportation plan. Is that the one that you're asking about?
I'm not really clear what I'm asking for, and for some reason my chat is off. I can't get it back, but what is the link, please, to the, you're talking about the STIP, a policy plan, and now there are opportunities to comment through an open house or through a link. Could you please give me a link to get into this work? Because when I went online just now, I got the 20 to 23 STIP, and I didn't find this new work.
Yeah. If you're accessing through Google, you could try typing in Alaska Moves 2050. That's the name of the LRTP document, and that should be the first result if you're not able to access the link in the chat.
Thank you very much.
The other thing too, Cheryl, is that I can work with AMATS staff to get you sent the information directly to your email.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions from the public? Okay, I don't see any additional ones. And that gets us through, I guess. This is not an action item, so it's more just questions. So thanks so much, Claire and Holly, for your presentation and for being here with us today. Appreciate it. Okay, moving to the next item on our agenda is general information. Any general information to share, Erin?
I have none. Thank you.
Okay, this might be a good place to ask the question. We do have one member of our committee where there's now a vacancy. Is there a plan for filling the vacancy, or do you have thoughts on that?
But yes, I'm working on it, but I don't really want to say anything right now. Thank you, though.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Eric. Okay, moving on to item 8, committee comments. The members of the committee have something to share with the committee. Go ahead, Mr. Van Hook.
Yes, real quickly, I'd just like to talk very briefly about the STIP and STIP Amendment 5, which is currently out for public review. It's very minor. STIP Amendment 4 was pretty significant, so STIP Amendment 5 is very minor, and it's basically a cleanup amendment. But what it does have in it that's concerning to AMATS and to this board would be a new need ID for the Seward Highway and 36th Avenue interchange was put into the STIP as placeholder in the amendment. And I think the public comments are due by the end of this month.
Okay, so it added Seward and 36.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Todd, for sharing. Any other committee comments to share with the group? Okay, moving on to item 9, public comments. Do we have any comments from members of the public? Looks like Mr. Baskey might have one. Is that? Check the hand raise.
Yeah, Sean Batsky, head of the design section at DOT here in Central Region. I just looked at Gov Delivery. Currently, there's a winter road maintenance questionnaire or survey out there for the Department of Transportation. I can read a portion of it. In spring of 2022, the legislature provided intent language that asked the department to solicit input on how we establish road priorities across the state. So this survey is part of that evaluation process. So if you go on to Gov Delivery, there's a bunch of information on there and survey, and we can probably pass it along to AMATS and pass it along to folks. But if I were to boil it down, it would be, we've got 7 maintenance operators operating in the Anchorage area at any one point in time. Because we split our staff in half, night and day. And so if we were to try to prioritize where to send those 7 people, that this information would potentially help us change our priority system to try to facilitate the public's needs better, but we're still talking about the same number of operators and all of that. We're not talking about an influx of additional resources, just how to prioritize things.
So 7 per shift, 7 morning shift, 7 night shift? Is that
Yep. So we split our 14 person
done?
fleet in half.
Perfect, that's valuable, thank you.
Yeah, so, and they cover from like Indian all the way to the Connect Flats.
Big ask.
Indeed, they're the heroes of the department for sure.
Okay, other comments from the public? Okay, well, looks like we do not have any, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move. Second.
Okay, move and second to adjourn. Here we go, adjourn.
Here for every time.
3 of 8.